Hey everyone, this is a video about how to unpack terms in anything, but specifically we're looking at 1984. We're going to go back to the first page of the novel and look at the term Victory Mansions. So, where Winston lives, it's called Victory Mansions, and we've read enough of the book now to know really what that place is like, but I want you to think about it in terms of the quotes on the first page. All the quotes that I'm going to show you are all from the first page, and we can see what his place is like pretty much immediately from the descriptions. So, first, I want to talk about the word victory. Victory means to defeat an enemy in battle, to win, basically. So, and one sports team could defeat another. One sports team wins over another, or one person can win a war over another. And then mansions is a big house, like a really big house. It has a lot of luxury. Maybe it's really updated. It has a lot of fancy stuff. Maybe it has a pool. It probably has a big backyard, stuff like that. I don't know anyone who lives in a mansion. But the place that lives in is called Victory Mansions. And so I want you to remember that as we look at these quotes. Okay. The hallway smelt of boiled cabbage and old rag mats. That's really one of the first descriptions we get of this place. And if you remember from one of my videos, I told you that my grandmother boils cabbage all of the time, and it makes her apartment smell like an actual garbage can. Like if you smell a garbage can, that is what boiled cabbage smells like. And then old rag mats. That makes me think of a mat, like a bath mat that has grown mold and mildew and smells really terrible because it's wet all of the time. Okay, so we have this. Would a mansion smell like this? So if you think of people who live in mansions, you think of famous singers, actors, sports stars, stuff like that. So think of your favorite sports star, and think about where they would live. They would live in a mansion. Would it smell like this? Probably not. The place Winston lives is not a very good place. Okay, and then we have another one. It was no use trying the lift. Even at the best of times, it was seldom working. So a lift is an elevator. That's what it's called a lift is what it's called in the UK, but it's an elevator. And then seldom means pretty much never. So it's never working. The lift is never working. The elevator is never working. If you lived in a mansion and there was an elevator there, would you expect it to work? Yes, I think you would. And then the flat was 7 flights up. So this is a 7-story building. And we learn later that there's a lot of other people living in this apartment or in this building. And so if you think of a flat, I was just looking up the difference between a flat and an apartment. In the UK, an apartment's actually really fancy. Not what we think of as an apartment in the US, but a flat is a place where people live and there's a bunch of shared spaces. So you think of a college dorm where people have individual rooms that they live in, but there might be a shared bathroom and shared common spaces. So there might be like a shared living area with couches or something like that. There might be a lobby. There might be a bathroom that everyone has to use. And that's where Winston lives. And so now let's come back to the term Victory Mansions. Does this seem like a way to win? Do you feel like Winston is winning living in this place based on the situation he's in? And do you feel like it's a mansion? Because to me, it's not victory. I mean, the only way I can connect the word victory is the government is trying to convince people that this is how we win the war. You deal with these conditions so we can win the war. And then with mansion, this place is not a mansion. Not at all. Not even close. It's shared. It's gross. It smells terrible. The elevator doesn't work. And then he lives like 7 flights up and he has to take the stairs because the elevator doesn't work. And he lives in this tiny apartment with probably has to share a bathroom and things like that. So this is how you unpack terms. You look at the terms, you define the words victory, you define the words mansion, and then you look at the quotes around these words. And you see if what is said is what's actually meant. So that's the thing with unpacking things. What's said isn't always what's meant. What's on the surface isn't always all the meaning that there is, if that makes sense. Sometimes you have to look deeper and you have to pay attention to clues in the writing to show you, no, this is not a mansion. This has nothing to do with victory. This is not a good situation. And we see that with other things too. Like we see victory cigarettes. We see victory gin and victory coffee. Later, we're going to hear Winston say that while he's walking through town where the pearls are, he smells coffee, not victory coffee, actual coffee. And then he talks about victory gin and how it's oily. I don't know about you, but I don't think alcohol is supposed to be oily. I've never seen alcohol be oily, so who knows what is actually in the gin that they're drinking. But it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of alcohol in there. So we have to think about terms and we have to think about, okay, this is what we're given and this is what it means based on what's around it. I hope this made sense and I hope that this was helpful. This is how I want you to try to think about different things in 1984. This is hard. It took me a long time to be able to do this well, to really be able to unpack language and unpack text and be able to read into things like I do now. But it's really useful, especially when you're reading literature, but also in your life too, where you could see something and what's on the surface, what you see at face value, isn't always what it actually is, or some things are not always how they seem. And in some ways it's helpful to read literature. So then when you look at things in your life like that, you can say, this doesn't seem right. This isn't what's supposed to be happening right now. Okay, I hope this was helpful. I'll see y'all later.